Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Team Field. This afternoon, the Pioneers will take on the Royals from Upper Darby High School. Before we introduce our starting lineup, let's take a moment to review PIAA guidelines and expectations. Conestoga High School and PIAA promote the highest ideals of good sportsmanship. Actions of language meant to demean contestants, team spectators, and officials are not in the highest ideals of interscholastic education and will not be tolerated. Let today's contest reflect mutual respect. We request your cooperation supporting today's contestants and contest officials in a positive manner. Offensive and unsportsmanlike language or conduct will not be tolerated and may serve as ground for removal. Please respect our student athletes, coaches, contest officials, and game administration with your cooperation to promote a safe, positive game environment. Thank you.
Where does it go? Is it like a live stream or? It's cool.
Today's starting lineup for the visitors from Upper Darby. Number 3, Ashley Sanchez-Segenta. Number 7, Brianna Kellum. Number 10, Alina Hall. Number 13, Helen Kashari Ferguson. Number 17, Brooke Outlaw. Number 19, Taylor Williams. Number 21, Saleh Bengora. Number 24, Tina Nguyen. Number 25, Mariana Reichert. Number 26, Joey Note. Number 28, Ikram Ilomari. Number 46, Jocelyn Miller. And for the home team, your Conestoga Pioneers. Woo! At midfield, number 4, sophomore, Julia Kogel. At midfield, number 5, sophomore, Brooke Bickle. On defense, number 7, sophomore, Molly McCarthy. At midfield, number 9, sophomore, Zoe Leggett. On attack, number 10, senior, Carolyn Jones. On attack, number 11, senior, Emily Todd. On defense, number 12, senior, Lauren Grimes. On defense, number 17, senior, Katie Mearglass. On attack, number 20, senior, Maggie Neary. On defense, number 28, senior, Nadia Swan. On attack, number 33, senior, Audrey Dyer. And in goal, number 30, junior, Kendall Elsasser. The head coach of Conestoga is Jacqueline Collins. She is assisted by Elise Bendinelli, Charlotte Easter, Taylor DiBernardi, Joe Bendinelli, and Andy Nicklick. Before we get started, we ask everyone, if you are able to do so, to please rise and move your hats as we honor our country with the playing of our national anthem. Good luck to both teams.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Teamer Field, where Conestoga will be taking on Upper Darby for a match of girls lacrosse. Both teams are very, very solid. Conestoga has been a well-established, efficient team. The roster is kind of split between seniors and actually a decent amount of sophomores, so we're getting some younger talent onto the team there. They might not have as much experience, but the seniors will work well to, create those networks. As we've seen before, regardless of the sport, if it's a team sport, the most important thing is chemistry. Those singular players can be very effective, and we've seen on both teams, Upper Darby and Conestoga, they exist for sure. The whole roster is talented for both teams, but regardless of that individual talent, if you can't keep it together, make some plays, and get a play going, then nothing is going to pay off. So overall, I'm really interested to see how these teams kind of mesh together. I saw a lot of broadcasts last year, and Conestoga was a really well-finished team. They had their passing game down. They had their shooting game down. And Upper Darby as well. They were well put together. Now in this new season, this is my first time commentating this season, it's interesting to see how that will differ. I think there will definitely be a strong competition, but we'll see how it plays out. Now we're coming to the draw now. This is going to be crucial to set the tone, get some momentum for either team. Whoever gets it, and Conestoga comes away with it. Number 4, Cowgill, comes away with it, driving up to the left. Conestoga making some fast plays. Already have it behind the net, looking for anything. Again, girls lacrosse especially is going to be a game with some weighting involved. That defense is going to be really structured, and you're going to have to wait for an opening. That's not going to come too easy, especially with a team like Upper Darby or Stoga. Mistakes won't be made, except there is one, and that's where you're going to have to capitalize. Conestoga comes away with a goal already. Not that much time in, and Conestoga already secures themselves a point. Beautiful stuff. I believe it was number 27, Lou Meisner, who came away with that goal. And as I was saying before, Conestoga is a really, really well put together team that has that chemistry down. As you saw there, Conestoga knew what they were doing. They formulated a play beforehand. The brought it behind the net, were able to disrupt that defense a little bit, get them uncomfortable, make that space available, pass it in, and get the goal. That's some really beautiful textbook stuff. Nothing too flashy, but they got the fundamentals down and it got them right. 1-0 is the score right now. Conestoga leading, not by too much. Upper Darby, doesn't have a super intimidating lead to go up against yet, but Conestoga is keeping up the momentum. Again, threatening another play there. Has the ball around the net. Carolyn Jones passing it around. Again, this waiting, that first time it might have not taken so long for that opportunity to open up, but as both teams settle in, it's going to be more and more difficult, but Carolyn Jones able to come away with it. Little more of that, individuality there. I talked about that chemistry being very important, and it is, yet there are still moments for players to shine. Like as we just saw, the senior Carolyn Jones, number 10, able to come away with a simple yet beautiful goal there, securing Conestoga their second point. Only a few minutes into the game, and Conestoga has established themselves a pretty substantial lead. Nothing that Upper Darby can't come back from, but given how quick they have come away with those points, the future does not bode too well for Upper Darby at the moment. They'll really have to make some improvements if they want to beat Conestoga. 20 Maggie Neary driving up traffic. Conestoga again just wasting no time getting it up the field. Circling the net already. Gets it back to Neary, who's directing traffic once again. Conestoga, their ball movement is just impeccable. Always getting that ball around. It's creating some space where, boom! Conestoga, Audrey Dyer, the senior, number 33, able to come away with yet another goal. As I was just talking about speed, it had been around, less than half a minute of play there. Conestoga already able to secure themselves another goal. This is looking kind of like a landslide victory so far for Conestoga if this trend continues. But, Upper Darby still has time to improve, still has time to warm up to this game. Whether or not they'll be able to capitalize on those Stoga mistakes is really a question. I don't believe Upper Darby has had possession of the ball yet, and that's where these draws really start to be crucial. Right there, Upper Darby trying to get the ball, but outnumbered by Conestoga. Number 5, Bickle, able to pick it up, and Conestoga already making a play up that right side. Neary able to get it to Jones. Contested on that right side, but still able to break through. Conestoga again just keeping those threats up, keeping the ball moving, but right outside that net. At any moment they could strike. And again, that waiting game is always something to consider. Conestoga, we've seen, has been incredibly efficient at looking for those, those mispositionings, those small errors that allows them to get just enough space, just enough of a look to get that ball in. Now, they do have a bit of a significant lead considering the time that has passed, so I think Conestoga might slow it down a little bit. There's no rush at the moment. They have a 3-point lead. They're pretty convincingly set up to have sort of a smooth game from here. It's really going to be Upper Darby who's going to be fighting the uphill battle. So now Conestoga can slow down a little bit, look for those more guaranteed shots, those guaranteed openings that they can really pounce on. Jones passes it inside to Neary and gets another look. Absolutely beautiful from Conestoga.
Conestoga goal, number 20, Maggie Neary.
Again, 9 minutes left in the first period, and Conestoga has already secured 4 goals, 0 for Upper Darby. So this is really a question, right, where Upper Darby has to analyze their game. What's going on? What's happening? Why are they falling short? And I think to some degree it is just giving credit to the Conestoga team. This is an incredibly well put together team, definitely state champion material. And that's something just hard to go up against. When you have a well-established program, it's hard to beat that. However, there are still ways to do it. Upper Darby, I think, really needs to increase the pressure. Conestoga, as they're doing right now, putting some pressure on that attack. Conestoga has been able to kind of, keep it around that goal, that crease, pretty safely. Upper Darby may be poking at the ball every once in a while, but Conestoga's feeling comfortable, and with that, they can get some easy goals. Upper Darby, if they put more pressure on, and it also could come down to that chemistry element that I was talking about before. Those are all really crucial things that to beat a team like Conestoga, they'll really have to consider. Again, Conestoga just coming real close with that ball, and Upper Darby letting it slide, but the keeper able to save it. Beautiful stuff there. But Conestoga, again, still with it, still with the pressure. Another look inside, and it comes through. Beautiful stuff again from Conestoga. Looked like number 11, Emily Todd, comes away with it. I mean, the seniors are doing incredible so far. Mostly senior action, getting those players some more time on the field. I'm assuming that some of the sophomores will get some more action as they go deeper into this game. But, I mean, Conestoga, what an incredible start. 5-0, 8 minutes left in the first period. Looking unstoppable at the moment. I mean, Conestoga just has been so dominant. And as I mentioned just at the very beginning, that momentum is a really crucial part of this. Conestoga has a 5-0 lead. Not a single, really play in the Conestoga half for Upper Darby, though they might be looking to change that at the moment. A little bit of a scuffle at the midfield. Conestoga, again, just able to get that ball back, keep up that pressure. Beautiful stuff from Conestoga. I mean, they're just relentless, not giving Upper Darby any room to breathe. And that's, what Upper Darby hates to see and what Conestoga loves to. Creating a threat here, keeping the ball just outside that crease. And again, looking for that good ball movement. And another play at the goal. However, there's a whistle blown. Is that yet another goal? It is. Beautiful stuff from Conestoga coming away with the 6-0 lead. Now joining me is Kush Mittal, adding, just some fruitfulness to our broadcast. Kush, I know, you missed some of this game, but how is it looking so far from an outsider perspective?
It's looking like the refs can call the game on this one already, Toby. Yeah, it is getting out of hand early on in this one. 6-0 here for Conestoga, just absolute domination so far.
So, yeah, just to give everybody a quick rundown, Conestoga has had blistering speed. They've won nearly almost, if not every draw. Upper Darby coming close to getting some momentum here. Upper Darby getting their first solid play on Conestoga's side, though. This is a good look for them. Currently getting a breakthrough, wrapping around their net. Upper Darby trying to establish themselves there, but that's that pressure I was talking about. Conestoga already, trying to put some pressure with their sticks. Upper Darby really having trouble with this look.
And it just looks like Upper Darby just can't get anything going on offense either. As soon as they get it down to this Conestoga half field, just try to drive in on that crease and just pushed out of the way right away.
Yeah, Upper Darby has a very different approach than Conestoga. A whistle blown might have been too much contact there for Conestoga, but regardless, what's important there is the structure. When we see Conestoga go down to the other end of the field, we see a neat circle. They're passing around. That's going to be Upper Darby penalty, but doesn't come away with it, but they maintain possession. But as I was saying, Upper Darby is kind of going for this more dynamic structure, always looking for a drive inside. But, however, that leaves them not as much time to look for a mispositioning that they can punish. Conestoga now making a drive up the field. Number 1, Antonacci, looking for something, but ball goes out of bounds, and Upper Darby back with it.
Yeah, Grimes just a little too hard on the pass trying to get out in transition, but Upper Darby lucky to not have this game be 7-0 right now, because Grimes got that one away. It looks like this is going to be an easy goal once again.
Bangura looking for a play up on the right side, now looking to the left. I mean, this pressure from Conestoga is just immense, and because of that, they're forcing Upper Darby to take these unfavorable shots, unfavorable passes, whatever it may be. Conestoga, you know, their success exacerbates any failures that Upper Darby might have, and that is what's leading to this snowfall.
Oh man, that's not just brutal if you're Upper Darby. Just a cutting player coming straight across in the center of the crease. Not coming from a backside cut or anything like that. Just straight down the middle there. And if you're Upper Darby, that's just fundamental defense you have to be playing right there. Just letting cutters in on like open spaces. That's just a death wish if you're Upper Darby.
Yeah, again, this is really going to be a hard look for Upper Darby. 0-7 is the current score still in the first period. You know, it's not looking too great for them, but there definitely are still ways to improve. I think Conestoga currently is looking favorable for the win here. However, I think Upper Darby, can definitely put up a good show. We saw them make a couple plays recently. I think they're warming up to the game a little bit, settling into the rhythm. You know, kind of getting used to that Conestoga pressure, which is really hard to overcome. But at the same time, Conestoga is not backing down. Again, they're taking maybe a bit more of a lax approach now that they're getting to that 7 lead mark. However, Upper Darby, you know, still fighting for it. Conestoga still fighting for it. There's still a game going on. Upper Darby gets possession off of a whistle. And this is a solid look. They're back in possession. We've seen Conestoga on top of the scoreboard kind of dominating the possession in general. Upper Darby having a harder time kind of securing that ball, keeping it in their possession. We'll see if that can happen. Runs through a double team. Absolutely beautiful work right there from Upper Darby. Nice drive through. Upper Darby really fighting for that. It's like number 8 Alleman making some nice plays there. Upper Darby keeping the ball with it.
Yeah, Upper Darby needs to spread their offense out right now. They're just too congested in one spot. There's going to be barbecue chicken for Conestoga right now on defense.
And that's that structure I'd been talking about before. Conestoga's really good spreading out into that circle, you know, keeping their players where they need to be, having feet on all parts of the ground. Upper Darby is taking, you know, not as much of a structured approach, which, you know, I'm not ruling out completely. However, that disorganization could cause troubles later down the line. Maybe it's influencing their playmaking. Maybe it's messing up, you know, how well they can make passes as well. Upper Darby is really having a tricky time here. However, Conestoga, again, coming away with the ball, dominating that possession, as I said before.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a rough possession for Upper Darby, to say the least. Just not being able to control the ball at all, and that just leads to Conestoga gaining possession again, and at this point in the game, Upper Darby knows how that one is going for them.
Conestoga now making an attack, though. Antonacci back with it. As I pointed out, that ball movement and that structure of Conestoga's offense, I think, is really what makes them so effective.
Yeah, and speaking of that structure, look how spread out this Conestoga offense is, right? And look at all that open space in the middle of the crease, right? That allows for cutters, open passing lanes, and things for Conestoga to take advantage of once Upper Darby's not looking.
Yeah, just as Kush was saying, when they're not looking, it's those little mispositionings, those little errors that Conestoga has to have a hawk eye for to capitalize on, to punish, and that's where they're going to get their goals. Upper Darby, you know, taking a little bit of a different approach, not leaving so much space in the middle, taking, you know, more of a pressured approach, always looking for a drive inside. Although in the moment it could be good, they're not setting themselves up in the future for as good of an attack. So that's something I might want to think about if I was the Upper Darby coach. Maybe take a page from Conestoga's book. They've obviously been doing incredibly, really good structure. And I mean, look at this passing play from Conestoga going on right here. Beautiful stuff, really nice movement. And after all of that, all those players switching positions, passing to each other, they're all keeping very nice structure. I mean, really just putting on great display here.
And look at it. It's constant cutting in on near the goal, constant movement around the arc. And look at it. We talked about how spread out they are. Look, they're condensing here. They're trying to force Upper Darby to play stronger defense. That leads to slip-ups. That allows for easier cuts. That allows for better passing opportunities. And just look at every part of the field. Ball movement around the arc, ball movement and movement around the goal. That's exactly what you want. And even though this possession did not work out in Conestoga's favor, that's exactly the offense that they want to keep running throughout this game. Just wear down that Upper Darby defense, keep them away from offense, which won't allow them to build momentum.
Exactly. I mean, at this point, the points are not really what Conestoga is worried about. At the moment, they hold a 7-point lead pretty convincingly early into the game. Speaking of, Upper Darby making a good, attempt there. Really quick drive down the middle. Upper Darby, I like that, that ferocity. Looked like Yuriso trying to make a play down the middle. See, they're getting inside, they're getting those drives. However, Conestoga's defense has that similar structure, mirroring their offense. Really nice, making Upper Darby having a really difficult time trying to make any plays. A whistle's blown. Looked like maybe too much contact on Conestoga. Upper Darby getting a good look here on a penalty. Let's see, 14 seconds left in the period. See if they can get their first goal of the period and the game, but unable to come away with it. Looks like they get possession. 5 seconds left. Not much time for them to do.
Don't even get a shot off with that opportunity. That's just a rough position once again for Upper Darby. And for Conestoga, it's getting back in those transitions. When Upper Darby's going really fast down that field, Conestoga's doing a great job in getting back and acting like a stone wall to Upper Darby, not knowing what they run into when they get down to that side of the field.
Yeah, and I think stamina is also going to play an interesting role in this game. We're only having a few minutes break between these periods, and on a hot day like this, it's currently 86 degrees. That's something that's, especially with all this running, is going to wear down those players. So we'll see. Will Upper Darby maybe get the upper hand from that? Perhaps they have better conditioning, and they'll be able to outpace Conestoga later in the game. Maybe, the substitutions will play a crucial role in that as well. I think overall this game is going to be dynamic. Conestoga, although they've had kind of a dominant presence in this game, and it's kind of been a one-sided story, I don't think that's the end of it. We're only one period in, and Upper Darby has plenty of time to improve. So, Kush, what do you like that you're seeing from Conestoga?
What is there not to like to see, Toby? Just everything's working on Conestoga's favor. Offense is hitting on all cylinders. Defense is acting exactly how they want to be. An iron fence on that goal. Just everything you want to see. And you have a wealth of knowledge and resilience that you can rely on in that bench for Conestoga. There's just so much for Conestoga working in their favor that Upper Darby does not have the answers for right now. Whether it's offense, whether it's defense, whether it might even be in the huddle. Conestoga has all the advantages out there right now, and they're taking full advantage of it with that 7-0 lead. And for Upper Darby, you just can't burn yourself out. That's exactly what Conestoga wants to do to you. Conestoga is letting them run up the field incredibly fast, with a lot of pace. But as you mentioned, with that heat right now, taking everyone out, it's going to burn out those players much faster for Upper Darby. If they're moving fast, and Conestoga isn't, but Conestoga is still getting the stops. So Upper Darby needs something to switch in these next 12 minutes of action, or before Conestoga fully runs away with it. Because going down into half with a deficit of 7 points, that's not much you can do about it, Toby.
Yeah, so in that first quarter, we saw that it was really, an interesting display of, especially for Conestoga, their senior part of the team. It might not always be their starters. I'm not quite sure. I haven't seen too many games, but Conestoga has been getting really nice engagement with all their seniors, showing all that experience and that networking. And I think, as I mentioned, and as I have keep on mentioning, that chemistry, that's really crucial. Some of these girls have known each other for a minimum of 4 years playing together, maybe even more from middle school or elementary school days. Conestoga is a team that really knows each of its players well, and because of that, there's strong connection, strong chemistry, and overall just really good for their team. Another draw. Upper Darby trying to come away with it, trying to get any possession that they can would be crucial. So we get passes it up that right side. Conestoga looking for something big here, making a play up the right, getting it behind that goal and continuing that beautiful ball movement as we had mentioned before. Emily Todd gets it around the goal. So we would get playing, a little bit more of a crucial role here. Saw a lot of seniors before, but now we're getting some fresh players in. on that offense, which I think, you know, that could be something that we see a lot from Conestoga, kind of switching up their pace, switching up their plays. We saw last time they're near an upper Darby goal, running around, passing, really trying to discombobulate that Upper Darby defense. You know, we'll see how Conestoga changes. Maybe their play style is the same, but they'll get in, you know, new plays specifically, new players specifically. We'll have to see how it continues. But at the moment, as I mentioned before, Conestoga really not under a lot of scoring pressure, right? 7-0 is the score at the moment. They have a really convincing lead and a comfortable as one at that, giving them a little bit of a safety net. They don't have to work too hard at the moment. They aren't worried too much about the scoreboard. So, you know, that ball movement, that structure is what they're really worrying about. But, however, I did just see some nice plays by that Upper Darby defense. Conestoga tried to get it inside, but they did a nice job clogging up right outside that crease. And Conestoga had to back off.
That's also just some great game IQ from Grimes, knowing that not having the shot and not needing to force it amongst that sea of defenders. Just backing out, resetting the possession, and trying to find a better look than the one she had.
Yeah, exactly. And as I mentioned at the beginning, there is an element of waiting in lacrosse. Not just waiting. Obviously, you're active while that's happening. You know, moving that ball around, always scanning the field, making plays. However, there is an element of, you know, looking for when that error happens, when that mispositioning happens, when that player is, you know, just a few feet away from where they should be. And that look, that small opening, is what you're going to have to wait for to get a good shot. And that's what Conestoga is doing so well. Those looks to the inside, but keeping their structure really overall just beautiful. The pressure they're keeping on Upper Darby, even while they're not necessarily doing a direct threat, just the threat of having a good play layout, players spread out in the right positions, that can even be having the same threat as, you know, making a direct drive in.
And if you're Upper Darby, it's a pro and con thing going on right now. Conestoga isn't scoring at all, but you're losing valuable time to score on your own side as Conestoga just waiting around on defense, just waiting for something to happen on this side of the field.
Yeah, really interesting kind of stalemate at this Upper Darby goal right now. Conestoga not quite able to break through. Although they get a look inside, and just as I say it, Conestoga, Lauren Grimes, number 12, able to come away with the beautiful goal. Kush, what did you see there?
Man, the commentator's jinx is a real thing, isn't it? When just talking about them not scoring a goal, and they score it right on the cue. But Conestoga just doing what they do best, staying patient, waiting for the right opportunity, and making it happen. And it was Grimes who backed out earlier, not taking the shot, knowing it wasn't a good shot. Ball finds its way back to her, and she capitalizes, making it 8-0 with 8:38 left in the half.
Again, as you mentioned, that game IQ is crucial. You know, when it comes down to those individual skills, maybe your athleticism, maybe your technical skill with the ball, that's important, obviously, but that game IQ, that's what brings the team together. Knowing when, how, where to make plays, that's really what makes a team great, especially those team leaders, those captains, whoever's out there.
Oh, that's just a great stick work from Grimes right there to back that ball away and get it back to Conestoga's side.
Leggett with the good look up there, gets it to Dyer, and Conestoga continuing this good ball movement. I mean, no matter who it is, you know, Hewitt, Antonacci, whilst Lauren Grimes especially, all these players, really good job of keeping the ball moving, keeping Upper Darby guessing, and keeping their plays dynamic. You know, Conestoga is never just staying in one place. They're always looking for something, always scanning for a shot, scanning for an opening, scanning for a cut in that they could make, and a pass that they could look for in the future. And I think that's, you know, that's what's really separating Conestoga from Upper Darby at the moment. That patience and that knowledge is really what's creating that gap at the moment. And I think if Upper Darby can warm up to that, you know, realize what Conestoga is doing, which I think is happening a little now. They're increasing the pressure there. Upper
what
Darby.
A pass. Oh, didn't take advantage of it, but that was a beautiful pass right there from Grimes, slobbing it over.
Yeah, but I think Upper Darby's defense is definitely improving. We just saw a few seconds ago Kellum putting some great pressure on that Conestoga offense. You know, using their stick, extending their reach, and keeping Conestoga, you know, out of their comfort zone. Maybe they're not looking for that shot. Maybe they have to back away a little bit. You know, and I think that first quarter was really kind of devastating for Upper Darby. They conceded 10 points, I think it was. Or no, 7 points, excuse me. And this period, they've slowed down a little. You know, Conestoga taking it a little slower. I think Upper Darby's defense has been warming up. Conestoga's offense cooling down a little on the other hand. You know, they're looking for that ferocity initially, scoring, you know, upwards of 2 goals in a minute. But now they're slowing down a little bit, cooling off their players, looking more for that ball movement, that passing, that structure over just raw goals.
Yeah, Conestoga is not on pace to score 28 goals anymore, which is a good thing if you're Upper Darby, of course. But this might also just be Conestoga settling down, willing to burn some time, and just look for those better possessions because, as we've seen so far, Upper Darby is a non-threat on the offensive end.
Yeah, and I think to some degree, you know, Conestoga is just backing away from that scoring a little bit. They just had a look there. Antonacci probably could have scored a goal off there, but I think they have a comfortable lead. They're fine with it. And I think they're just going to stay there for the moment. You know, they might try to get more players in, more goals going. We'll see how it develops, but for the moment, I think Conestoga is more just concerned with, you know, practicing that real game experience, getting those passes going, getting that structure. Whatever's happening, I think Conestoga and Upper Darby are really developing from it. Both teams are warming up to each other, settling into their rhythm, as I mentioned before. 5 minutes left in the first half. I'm curious if anything else will really develop here. Conestoga mostly just keeping the ball, passing it around, trying to wear out that Upper Darby defense. Conestoga gets a look inside. A shot comes off. And I believe that's another goal for Conestoga. 9-0. As I was talking about what would happen before the half, Conestoga secures their 9th point. Absolutely beautiful. Kush, what are you seeing?
I'm just seeing a lot of Conestoga goals tonight, frankly. Just Conestoga domination. Every way you look at it. You look at up, you look at down, you look left, you look right, north, south, west, east, whatever it is, you're looking at Conestoga domination right now. It's a bad one out there for Upper Darby. And just, if you're Conestoga, why take the foot off the gas? Go all out, try to score as many goals as you can. Just give this team a huge vote of confidence here, and just keep putting points on that board, because whenever you go into another game, you're going to think about, man, we scored X amount of points on Upper Darby. Nobody can stop us, you know? That's just the type of thing you want to get going if you're Conestoga. Just having those games you can look back on later in the season where you're like, we did this, we're going to do it again. Whether it's a game maybe they're struggling a lot more, maybe their offense isn't clicking, they realize we have the ability to get going on offense, and we can look back at this game as a reason why.
Upper Darby has a look here, though. They have good possession. They haven't in a while.
Let's see if Upper Darby can make something happen here. It is absolutely needed at this point in the game.
Elamari trying to direct traffic here. Back to Hoback. Again, looking for those players inside, looking for those drives inside. And a whistle is blown. I believe an Upper Darby favor, it had seemed.
And Upper Darby's had tons of opportunities like this throughout the game and just haven't been able to do anything with it. Conestoga's defense just collapsing and it's preventing anything from happening on these penalties. That's something Upper Darby just needs to take more advantage of. They don't even drive in on this one. They just reset the possession at the top of the key.
Yeah, Upper Darby really having a difficult time with that structure that Conestoga is providing. Those players, as I was talking about with that chemistry, they all know where their teammates are, what's happening, where they should be and where they should go in the future. Upper Darby having a little bit more trouble with that. They're not as organized as Conestoga just sweeps that ball away and brings it up to that other side.
And this is something we haven't seen a lot of today. Conestoga's fast break offense, just lightning quick, has the advantage, going all the way, going for the score, and gets it. What a play from Conestoga on the attack. Conestoga, relentless. Bianca Antonacci with the score.
I mean, absolutely beautiful work. I mean, you saw the pace on that. That's something where, you know, an individual player is really the key there. There was some chemistry, you know, getting that play up on the side. I forget who assisted it. It might have been Zoe Leggett. But regardless, Beautiful stuff from Conestoga. And as I talked about at the beginning of the game, you know, that momentum is going to be something that's crucial, whether it's in the game, whether it's over the season, or whether it's over the years. You know, Conestoga has been a well-established team. They've had momentum. They've had wins from years before that really gives them that confidence. They've had wins before this season. They've had goals before this game. You know, all that leads up to this kind of confidence that you see in Conestoga, and it allows them to play with a little bit of ease, a little bit of fluidity, you know, that is really showing us all these goals, all these beautiful plays, all this really good work that Conestoga is just putting on display at the moment. 10-0 is the score. Conestoga gets up to double digits. Upper Darby still scratching for anything on that scoreboard.
Something else I want to put in about that fast break by Antonecci, just it wasn't all her on that. We got to make sure that every player is accounted for there, and Conestoga staying spread on that fast break, not condensing on Antonecci, and leaving that side of the field open and allowing her for room to run while creating passing lanes to her. That's exactly what you want on a fast break opportunity. It's a lot of opportunities to do around the field, and for her to take advantage of her by herself in an isolation situation.
Yeah, I mean, whatever happens, you know, whatever you're referring to, there are still so many other players on the field, and that always has to be considered. You know, it may not be obvious, but those other players are watching. They're moving. Everything's happening all the time. So you got to watch out for that, especially, you know, if you're Upper Darby defense. Conestoga has, you know, a complicated routine like this, always switching around, always passing. That's something that's going to be difficult for them to deal with. However, they have to stay locked in. Minute 15 left on the clock for the first half, and Conestoga comes away with another goal. Running clock now that Conestoga hit a double-digit gap.
Jubilation continues for the Conestoga players as every goal means as much as the last one. Conestoga just making it 11-0. Clock's running down. We're under a minute at this point. Just Upper Darby's hoping to go into half and try to create something in the game plan to make something happen.
You know, something more could always happen, but even if not, Kate Holbert putting a really nice seal on this first half. Conestoga again showing that, you know, those explosive moments in that first period, that's not everything they are. They are a consistent team. You know, they can work together regardless of how long they've been playing the game, who is in currently, who they have on the bench, off the bench. It doesn't matter. Conestoga, they're going to execute. 12 seconds left. Conestoga may be looking for a last look in the last 10 seconds. Clock ticks down to 5, and this looks like the conclusion for the first half of the game. Kush, take us out.
I don't know what else to say, Toby. You've been watching the story of the game if you've been watching the whole time. Just 11-0 Conestoga. Everything's clicking. Nothing's clicking for Upper Darby. Let's see if they can bring it back in the second half.
Yeah, so that's going to be your first half completed. Conestoga 11, Upper Darby 0, and we'll see you in the second. Welcome back, everybody, to the second half of this nail-biting game between Conestoga and Upper Darby. Currently, the score is 11-0. Conestoga leading by a significant amount. Very interesting, show display of talents on both sides. Conestoga has really been demonstrating their structure, how well put together their team is. Upper Darby putting out some great grit, always keeping that pressure up. Really nice from both teams, but Conestoga doing better on the scoreboard. We're seeing it right now. Look how composed their structure is. Almost a perfect circle here. And just really nice ball movement. Always keeping their eyes open, scanning for a cut, scanning for anything. Upper Darby having a little bit of trouble trying to keep up with that.
Conestoga trying to create some confusion on that far side of the field. Upper Darby staying disciplined, however.
So yeah, we have 2 more quarters to go. Kush, what are your predictions for this game?
I don't know if there's a lot more to predict in this one, Toby. Conestoga is up 11-0 and having control of the ball as often as they do, with Upper Darby maybe having under 2 minutes of possession in this game. It just looks like Conestoga is just going to run away with this one. Rarely do you ever see the dagger of the game being the first goal, but that might be what happened here today.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that Upper Darby really has to consider. Are they going to put that foot forward? Are they going to fight for that? Conestoga, I think, comes away with the goal already. So early on, number 17, Katie Mirswa, able to come away with one early into the second half. Again, because of that double-digit lead for Conestoga, the clock is going to stay running, I believe.
Yes, we are under 10 minutes now, and that goal just looked apathetic from Mirswa. Not in the sense that she's not trying, but in the sense that she doesn't have to try. Just Conestoga running away in every aspect of this game. Goals, it's like stealing candy for a baby, essentially, at this point for Conestoga.
Conestoga is really at an interesting balancing point right now, right? Because at this point, I think they have a pretty convincing lead. They have a good safety net. They're not really under the pressure to score. However, there's players out there, and they're capable. So it's really looking for that. Should we score? Should we keep it more laid back, focus more on our passing, our ball movement, our structure?
Yeah, and when you're up by this much, a new type of challenge presents itself for Conestoga. It's how do we keep that intensity up, right? How do you not go back and stay relaxed, and how not to get too complacent? Because if you're up by 12-0, there might be a sense of boredom with, not really a word, but just getting bored out there, really, for Conestoga. But just you need to be able to stay engaged, stay locked in on this game, because you can't let anything slip behind the cracks if you're Conestoga, just out of pure laziness.
Kellum looking for something there, making some good drives inside. A shot comes off, but just a little too wide. 12-0 stands as a score. Again, Upper Darby just looking for something, any ball to get into the net there. And I like what I'm seeing. Kellum making some drives inside. Conestoga's well-structured defense is making, anything fruitful really difficult for Upper Darby. However, that pressure is still being applied, which I love to see. Ball goes over the net off of a bounce. However, Upper Darby still maintaining possession. 8 minutes left in this third quarter, and Upper Darby still looking for something. Little debate with the refs there as to what's going on. However, Upper Darby maintains possession. A little bit of a scuffle for it, but again, Kellum, really kind of that leading player, keeping the ball alive. Looking for the drive-through. Upper Darby with another shot, but just cannot come away with anything. Conestoga back with possession.
If you're Upper Darby, you're happy with that, because that is your first shot on goal all game, and that's exactly where you're starting to moving towards to actually put some points on the board. So getting that within the frame of the goal, getting that where the goalie has to move a little bit more than they have been throughout this game, that's exactly what you want for Upper Darby. Just trying to continue making things like that happen.
Yeah, I mean, really good improvements there. Conestoga, having to fight back with that. I believe that was Elamari with the shot on goal from Upper Darby. And again, I think they have over time been warming up to Conestoga, settling into that rhythm, getting used to the game, getting used to, how Conestoga plays both offensively and defensively. Because of that, they have more information. How should I play? Where should I go? So I think Upper Darby definitely has some good chances to get some scores on the board. However, Conestoga is really a force to be reckoned with, and I would say that nothing is guaranteed.
Conestoga incredibly spread out here, all the way as far back as the 25-yard line if we're playing football, but just incredibly spread out, just condensing a little bit here due to some loose balls, but see if they're able to save it. They're not, and now it's Upper Darby lucks into a possession here with about 6 minutes left in the quarter. They need some points, Toby, and they need them bad.
Yeah, Conestoga, as I was talking about with those substitutions, Avery Decker, who I believe is the only freshman on the Conestoga team, currently out right now, number 2 on the field, being a part of that Conestoga offense, which has been so well structured. And I mean, it shows that Conestoga, it's not just a team of these well-experienced seniors. They have a good amount of sophomores on the team. They have some juniors, even a freshman. Really nice, all-around, well-rounded team from Conestoga, and it's clear how efficient they have been. Again, Conestoga with some looks there, focusing more on that ball movement. As we mentioned, they're not really under much pressure to score. However, they're still keeping it up. Molly McCarthy getting it around to some of her teammates. Again, that ball movement is really what's going to, jumble that defense, or at least attempt to. And that's what's going to create those small imperfections, maybe a mispositioning. And Decker able to get one. The freshman able to come away with the goal. Absolutely beautiful stuff.
Avery Decker.
Conestoga, again, solidifying themselves as a well-rounded team, no matter who it is, no matter where it is, no matter when it is. 4 minutes left in the third quarter, or the first minute of the game. Conestoga is going to deliver. Their team is just so strong, so well-rounded, that, individual circumstances like that are not going to affect their consistency, their efficiency, their scoring, their defense, regardless. Conestoga is playing so well, so consistently. Upper Darby, again, having a tough time with that. And I can't blame them. Conestoga's a hard team to face, especially on these draws when, when that's where you're going to get that initial position. Upper Darby has been doing a good job recently, getting some possessions off of that. However, here, Conestoga able to get something, a little too much contact there. Like Reese Nepareni catching a little too much of the Upper Darby stick there. Conestoga just keeping it in play. Really nice ball movement. Coach, what do you think is the overall atmosphere of this game?
For Conestoga, it's an atmosphere of success and excitement for the season ahead for them. As looking ahead a little bit here, they got a little bit of a difficult schedule going against Archbishop Carroll in 2 days here, and they're away once again for Lower Merion a couple days after that. So the schedule starts picking up a little bit after this, but going into those games with this momentum of seems to be a win at this point is going to be very helpful for them. For Upper Darby, it's incredible disappointment for them, as being down by this quantity of points is something that you never want to be, and it's just going to be a learning experience for them after this game for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, definitely, as we talked about, Conestoga is a team that you want to take a page from their book. Up in personal experience, real game experience against Conestoga. It's not necessarily all bad. They're learning. They're seeing good structure. Now, again, Conestoga getting some good information here as well. How are they performing? How are these different structures doing? Upper Darby's putting up a great amount of effort, great amount of pressure. You know, even if they're not having that possession on defense, Upper Darby still keeping up. You know, Conestoga learn from Upper Darby. How can we deal with that? How can we get around that? How can we be most effective on offense? You know, regardless of the outcome of this game, Conestoga holding a pretty convincing lead at the moment with around a minute and a half left in that third quarter. Regardless, Conestoga and Upper Darby are going to come out of this game improved.
Interesting hot potato idea going out there for Conestoga. I've never seen that one out on the field before, but it seems to have done the job.
Nepareni pulling out some avant-garde moves against Upper Darby, but Upper Darby just can't seem to deal with them. Again, Conestoga's structure, how they spread out, how they pass the ball around, that's really, you know, what's solidifying them as a team. Because of that, they don't have to worry too much about, you know, that individual pressure, because they always have, you know, a safety vest, safety net, whatever it may be, on top of their score. You know, they have players to back them up. Really, really nice overall. And Upper Darby just having a hard time dealing with it.
Winding down here in this third quarter, just about 40 seconds left. Just Conestoga is burning out this quarter, it seems like, and then going for a score to finish it out. Just Upper Darby just waiting for a mistake from Conestoga's part as Neary takes it out.
It's true. Broadcast clock just comes back to it. Around 20 seconds left in the game. Conestoga looking for something maybe in those last 20 seconds. Maybe they can get it inside, get a good look there. However, Conestoga not letting anything up. Still keeping that possession. Still keeping that ball moving. Really nice. 3 seconds left. Will Conestoga secure anything? No, they let the clock run out.
And that's how you know that you've got a good game going for you, when you don't need to, when you're not urgent to score at the end of a period. Conestoga just letting that bell ring out, going into the final period of action up 13 points. They do say 13 is an unlucky number, so maybe the Upper Darby will come back is brewing.
It's true. Lucky it's not a Friday.
This is true.
Also, so we've seen really interesting differences, right? We've seen Conestoga have a really structured play style, nice ball movement, a little bit more patience. Upper Darby kind of on the other ends of some of those spectrums, and the scoreboard, you know, is somewhat of a representation of that. So how do you think Upper Darby coming away from this game can look to improve their play style, their stamina, whatever it may be? How do you think that they can better themselves as a team?
It's got to be on the defensive side of the ball, as if the scoreboard wasn't a big enough indication for us. But letting up 13 points in the game is just unexcusable from any aspect of the game. Unless you're scoring that level of points, you can't be letting up that level of points. So it starts on the defensive side of the ball for Upper Darby. Because if you're preventing Conestoga from scoring and gaining possession back, that is more opportunities for you. Another issue for Upper Darby throughout this game has been, even if Conestoga's missed a shot, they've made sure to maintain possession. Even bad possessions are fine because they're causing turnovers on the defensive side of the ball. But for Upper Darby, they need to key in on their defense and to be stronger and force more missed shots, force more errors, and allow them to get more possessions. And they need to do that in a much faster time period. Conestoga is burning minutes at a time on their possessions, and just something that Upper Darby cannot be doing at this point.
It's true, and I think I like how you brought up the point of possession. You know, Upper Darby has had some good looks, some good plays. They've made some threats towards the goal, haven't been able to capitalize on any yet. However, Conestoga is just doing so much better on the possession side. I'd say they're nearing that 80%, 90% of play time with the ball in a Conestoga stick. You know, and that's something that you don't want to see from Upper Darby. Regardless of the score, you want to have your players getting in on that action. You know, that defense is valuable. However, you have to get that possession. You have to be at least creating those threats, having that ball, and getting those players the experience that they need. Conestoga has been doing a really, really good job at that. Upper Darby, I think if they could focus more on those possessions, I think a draw, you know, is something where they can easily, maybe not easily when compared to Conestoga, but however, I think that's something specific, right, that they can hone in on, get themselves more positions, possessions, excuse me. And, you know, they've shown that they already are strong in that area. It's something that they can get those possessions. They can get those draws. I think if they can get those consistent, that will lead to some good, you know, consistency, some good momentum. However, Conestoga there showing their strength in that area, bringing that ball up the left side, creating yet another attack.
I think I just saw Euro stepping Lacrosse. That was absolutely beautiful, causing that misdirection right there. Being able to set up a better possession right now. Just beautiful footwork, beautiful stick work right there. And Conestoga looking to run up the score as we enter the final 12 minutes of action in this exhilarating game.
So speaking of those final 12 minutes, what are you looking to see?
I'm looking for Conestoga to put up some more points at this point. Just keep racking them up, keep putting in points on the board, because if you have the ability to, why not? And also, as you mentioned, there is youth on this team that doesn't have as much experience as the older juniors and seniors. So you get them experience running the offense, getting integrated into the system, and understanding how to score efficiently and effectively. That's going to be a huge advantage for them for the long-term longevity of this team, because these are the defending state champs at the end of the day. And if the scoreboard wasn't telling enough, they're looking to get back another state champ and go back to back. And to be able to build that culture of winning, you can build a dynasty out here.
Yeah, I mean, so well said. As I was talking about before with that momentum, right, that yearly momentum, right? Conestoga is coming off of a win like that. They know their program is strong. They know there's players on this team that can perform at such a high level, and there are new ones always coming in ready to develop, ready to learn. You know, and that confidence from Conestoga, I think, is a big part of their success. While there is a lot of just hard work, practice, you know, well-structured training, communication as well. There's so many things that go into that, but that momentum is something that just, you know, is that cherry on top.
Conestoga almost came away with yet another one. Just a mishandled pass right there. Would have been huge, but Upper Darby looking to get out ahead, and the ball is lost once again. Conestoga gets away with it, and they have possession once again.
Antonacci with a really nice turnover there. Conestoga has been really good at changing their defense into offense, regardless what the position is. Whether that midfield, behind the goal, in front of the goal, doesn't matter. Conestoga is delivering on such a high level that, you know, Upper Darby is struggling to keep up with it. 9 minutes and 30 seconds left on the clock right here. Conestoga again with that decision. What will they focus on? Getting more points on the board, looking for that structure, just practicing. You know, what is Upper Darby looking to do? At this point, are they, you know, trying to get some more points on the board? Are they trying to sub in some new players to get some experience? We don't really know. So, Kush, what has been the overall story of this game so far?
13-0, Toby. That's been the overall story for this one. Conestoga has been running away with it from every aspect of this game. I've been saying it at the beginning of the game, I've been saying it in the middle of the game, and I'm saying it now. Because nothing has changed in this game as Conestoga has been scoring relentlessly, having control of this game from possession to defense to every aspect. Conestoga has their has their foot on the gas pedal. And they're not taking it off anytime soon, as they're hoping to ride this momentum into every single game afterwards.
Well said, Kush. Anyway, getting back into this action, Conestoga, again, just keeping up that rhythm. And I think that's also something that, you know, maybe is overlooked a little bit. That rhythm, that consistency. And a beautiful save from Upper Darby.
My eyes must be deceiving me as Conestoga did not score a goal right there. Upper Darby out of transition now. They're hungry. They want it. Upper Darby looking for gold, looking for a point, going all the way, putting up a shot. It's good. Upper Darby has scored. It is 13-1. Upper Darby has put up a point onto the board.
Number 11, Irene Yaruso, with possibly the greatest fast break that I've seen on Teamer Field.
Get out of her way. That was pure muscle all the way down the field, coast to coast, all by herself.
Absolutely beautiful. I mean, just incredible work. Upper Darby getting themselves on the scoreboard. Just a display of, you know, Conestoga is a tough team to go against. However, that's not going to stop them. Upper Darby's going to get that break. They're going to get that goal. Absolutely beautiful stuff from them.
Conestoga is not shutting them out tonight, as Conestoga is looking to be hungry on their side of the field again and make up for that goal. But Upper Darby, that is exhilarating. That is a voice of confidence pumping through you right now. That is exactly what you need to keep your head level. A goal like that can lift a whole team up.
I mean, yeah, just nice performance on offense and defense there from Conestoga. Really nice block there from, I believe it was number 46, Joseph Miller.
That was just a beautiful possession all around. We got to commend the defense and turning that into instant offense. That's exactly what you want to do if you're Upper Darby. And that's exactly what you want to do from every game forward at this point. That is a possession you can learn from. You got to learn from your mistakes through this game, but you also know there's highlights in this game, and that is exactly the one that you pick up from.
And, you know, we've talked about consistency from Conestoga. Another great block there. Beautiful stuff from Miller. I mean, just showing they're not letting up.
As we're talking, Conestoga scores once again, silencing us rather quickly. I believe that's Neary with the goal.
Conestoga's goal, number 22, Kira Cano.
Nope, number 22, Kira Cano, comes away with it. I mean, beautiful stuff from both ends. We're seeing, you know, this is a competition from both sides. Upper Darby putting up a beautiful play. 2 nice saves in the past, minute or so? Really nice stuff. And, you know, as I was talking about, as we have been so far, there's been a pretty consistent theme to this game. Some worms on the sideline from Conestoga. But, you know, Upper Darby is breaking that pattern. You know, Upper Darby fast break, you know, a one-player play into their first goal was not on my fourth period bingo card. However, they delivered. You know, Upper Darby is not a team to be underestimated. 5 minutes left on the clock. What can they do to further that? Conestoga, on the other hand, showing that they are a force of nature as well. Looks like number 7, Molly McCarthy, coming away with the goal of her own.
This is uncanny, Toby. This is uncanny. 15-1 at this point in the game, not taking the foot off the gas at all. Feels like Conestoga was insulted that Upper Darby scored that goal. And they just came back with 2 ferocious points.
That gas is staying on the foot as Conestoga continuing to just hammer in those points. Really nice stuff. Really pushing themselves. Right? Conestoga is not happy with, you know, just mediocrity. Pushing themselves beyond their limits. Pushing themselves to play their best. That's what it's about, and that's why they have been so successful. Upper Darby with the play of her own. Kellum looking for a play up on that right side. Really nice movement up there. Conestoga maybe getting a little bit of deja vu from that last fast break, but Conestoga defense is able to mitigate it, pushing it to the side. However, Upper Darby still in it with another shot on goal. Beautiful block from Conestoga. But a nice play whatsoever. Number 19, Peyton McCall, making a play. Dishes it off, and again, Conestoga getting into that more relaxed rhythm. They're not under too much pressure. Upper Darby showing them, you know, they have some bite. However, there's still a 14-point safety net that they can fall back on. We'll see, you know, what will happen. You know, after Upper Darby cut that lead to 13 points, Conestoga might have to, you know, take a look at something. Why did that happen? There, you know, regardless of the mistake, there's always something to learn from. You know, Conestoga has to look up why did they concede that point. Was it a mispositioning? Was it maybe a mindset that they didn't really want? Maybe a little bit of overconfidence from that momentum that we had been talking about before. Really wide array of things it could have been. We'll have to see how the rest of these 2.5-ish minutes play out. Conestoga seeming to just keep up that ball movement, keep up that structure. You know, and that's something that I think is very commendable, regardless of how long they've been playing for, regardless what the score on the scoreboard is. They're staying disciplined. You know, their structure is still solid. Ball movement still solid. Their passes, not missing a single one. And that's what we like to see from Conestoga And that's what makes them so successful. Just as I was talking about, maybe that commentator jinx is a little bit real. Pass fumbled, but Conestoga still fighting it and gets it back. Number 27, Lou Meisner, able to keep with it. Conestoga not letting up. A little over 2 minutes left on the clock here. Upper Darby still putting in great effort. Putting in pressure, you know, poking that Conestoga offense.
Under 2 minutes now. Conestoga just holding on the ball. Doesn't seem like they're really attacking that goal as much. They're just circling it around, running out this clock as they turn the ball over. And it's going to be Upper Darby. Let's see if Upper Darby can put up another point on this board.
So, yeah, I mean, Upper Darby, they've shown that they can have those explosive moments. You know, they're not necessarily, you know, something, just a team who might be stuck on defense. They're making good plays as we speak. Number 21 driving up that right side. I mean, unfortunately, what, quadruple or quintuple teamed? But Bangor are making a really nice effort. Conestoga just able to outnumber them. And again, as we said, turning that defense into offense is really a specialty for them. Conestoga is so efficient with it, so well-rounded. The last 50 seconds, we'll see what happens. You know, will Conestoga try to get a final score, or will they run out the clock like we've seen in some previous quarters? It's really hard to say. 30 seconds left on the clock. Conestoga looking for a nice bow to tie onto the end of this game. 15-1 is the current standing. Ball goes out of bounds, and it looks like that's going to be Upper Darby ball. 20 seconds left. Not a lot of time to work with. A whole field to get across. Upper Darby might have to show a little bit of hustle here. 12 seconds. Just trying to keep that ball in play. 8 seconds. Looks like the goalie's just going to keep it there as the clock ticks down. And that's going to be the end of the game. 15-1. Conestoga Pioneers win. Kush, tell us the story.
I'll say it again, Toby. 15-1. That is the story for today. Conestoga just ran away with this one. From the first goal, you knew this one was over. The defending state champs defended home turf like it was a piece of cake. Conestoga just playing every facet of this game as perfectly as you could, from offense, from the passing, to the cutting, to the structure, to defense. Just absolute no penetration from Upper Darby. This game went as well as your little brother asking to play Madden with you, all right? This game was a blowout from the beginning. Conestoga runs away with it, and they're looking to keep this going as they go on a quest to go back-to-back for state championships.
Beautiful stuff there from Conestoga. Great effort from Upper Darby as well. And that's going to conclude our game and our broadcast. We'll see you next time here on TETV.